G'day everyone, Dicko here with another kick-ass walkthrough. As you can see here, a little bit of a scene change today because I am in the center of Melbourne, my hometown. So I'm gonna jump in there and get a few things done, particularly around how I create this 1990s style of Toon line animation using Blender and Grease Pencil. Now, I posted a video a few days ago of me basically showing off this result, and I got a ton of questions about how this is done. So I figured I got a few characters that I have left to materialize, so why not go ahead and try it out with these other characters as well. So stick around, let's get inside and let's get started.
So in the previous video, I mentioned that I had my doubts about whether I could actually translate my drawing style into a 3D image, but sometimes just having a change of environment allows you to think a little bit differently. And for my mobile studio, I have my MacBook Pro and my XP Pen Artist Ultra 16. Alright, so starting from the top, here I have my character on its own without any line art whatsoever, no grease pencil objects, nothing of the sort at this point in time. I have, however, made sure to group everything into a collection so I can create a grease pencil collection line art object. Now this isn't really any different to any standard grease pencil object. The only thing it does is automate the process of creating a line art modifier and assigning it to the appropriate collection where all my objects are in which I want to have line art drawn upon. Now of course you could do this for individual objects as well by creating a object line art grease pencil object, or you can have it affect the entire scene with a scene line art grease pencil object. Now when you do create this grease pencil object, you automatically get a line material and you also get a animation layer for the lines to be generated upon. Now what you may notice, however, is that you can't see any lines even though we've created this grease pencil object and linked it to this collection. What's going on? Well, the issue is that the lines are only generated if you have a renderable camera present in the scene, and you have to be looking through that camera in order for the lines to be generated upon them. Now, as you can see here, I've created a camera, and once I pull away from that character, you start to see the lines being generated. They're completely drawn based on whatever the field of view the camera can see. Now, you may not notice it on the screen in this recording, but it is there and it's super faint. And that's because the value is very small in its default settings. So if you increase the line radius in the line art modifier, you'll start to see those lines come into play. Now, the other thing you'll notice is that the lines might look really nice and crisp in the camera view, but once you pull away from the camera view and just go to perspective view, the lines are essentially broken, completely broken. And as an example, you can see here, on the left side, I have my camera view, I'm zooming in and out, but on the right view there, as I move the camera around, it's only generating the lines in the areas that the camera can see. And I assume that's to save on performance and just generally prevent Blender from completely shitting itself when it tries to render all these extra lines dynamically. Now you will see one issue, however, is that the lines themselves are completely uniform across the entire model, but we don't want that. So we need to figure out a way to control the line weight in areas that we want in order to get that nice thick to thin taper across the model. And the best way to do that is to transfer vertex weight data from our meshes to the grease pencil object. Luckily, we have that ability in the line art modifier, as you can see here. This match output checkbox allows us to basically skim through all the objects that we have in our scene, look for a specific named vertex group, and then transfer that data from our meshes to the grease pencil object, which in turn also has the same named vertex group in its own grease pencil object data. Jesus Christ, that just sounded like a whole bunch of gibberish. But basically what we're going to do is go through all of our objects and create a vertex group. So go ahead and make one and call it something very specific like line thickness and assign it 100% to your meshes, all right? Go through every mesh that you want to have line art generated on. So anything in that collection, basically. So in my case, I have 3 objects, the hair, the mask, and then we have the body itself. So I've gone ahead and just flooded the entire mesh with the same value of 1 for everything, just so I know that each object has 100% got that weight data on them. And then we can modify it later. And finally, go ahead and add the same vertex group to the data panel in your grease pencil object as well. Now this method will only work if the names are exactly the same. So just copy and paste the names rather than trying to just retype them to prevent you having any typos in them and then you pulling your hair out. So just make sure they're all the same. Now, just to reiterate, what we're trying to do is transfer data, okay? So you'll see that the match output function here that is checked on by default is going to look for a specific name of a vertex group, all right? That will become really important because we're about to add our thickness modifier. This will allow us to control all the lines all at once with another value, basically. So what we're doing essentially is blending between the thickness in the line art modifier and that of the thickness value in the thickness modifier. So in my case, with the line art modifier, the value is 0.05 at its thickest value, and then it's like some tiny number or even 0 at its thinnest number in order to be able to blend between those different values. Now you can see here, as we expand the influence tab on our thickness modifier, you can actually design this to only be affected by specific layers of animation in the grease pencil object and specific materials as well. But the most important part is the way that we control the vertex group. So you go ahead and assign the same line thickness vertex group to your thickness modifier. So as you can see, I'm just scrolling up and down just to show you how the thickness modifier is working. So I'm just going to go with a very thin line as my minimum. And on my line art itself, it's going to be around the 0.05 value. So what we're going to be doing is essentially masking out the thickness modifier with our vertex group. And the masking is essentially done the same way that you would weight paint a character if it were rigged. You're basically going from a value of 0 to 1 and choosing areas where you want thicker lines and thinner lines across the mesh and effectively creating a brand new weight paint group just for masking out the thickness modifier itself. So let's demonstrate with a very simple weight paint scenario. Let's go ahead and select our main object, in this case my character, and go to weight paint mode. And I'm going to select a gradient, and I'm going to go with a linear gradient between 0 and 1. So I'm just going to reset my gradient so it's a nice linear slope. And I'm just going to click and drag with a value of 0 on my weight and a strength of 1 from the bottom of my character to the top of my character. And what you will see is a very nice looking taper take place throughout the body. Now, this is a linear taper from the bottom of the character to the top, but you start to understand what's happening. So at a value of 0, the original line thickness from our line art modifier is being rendered. But as we get to a value of 1, the thickness modifier value starts to override the thickness of the line art. And you can invert this if you want to as well. But you can just see that it's a very simple way of controlling the line thickness. Then, with that understanding in mind, you can actually start to go through the model and choose specific areas where you want the lines to be thinner and lines to be thicker. So let's go ahead and try that process right now. I'm just going to go ahead and flood the entire model with a value of 0 again. So basically do the opposite of what I did at the start of this tutorial, just to show you how this is going to work. I'm then going to go ahead and reset my gradient graph, because what you can do is have a tapering from 0 to 1 back to 0, and that will give you a little bit more control over how the gradient tool works when you want to, do some weight painting. So that's a nice little trick just to keep in mind when you're doing this as well. So I've got myself a nice little, bell curve going on. And then with that tool enabled, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag areas that I want the taper to be. And it's going to be quite extreme at first, but we're going to smooth this out after the fact in order to get a much, much cleaner result as well. So here it is in its most extreme. With a value of 1 taking over the knees, there's almost no line art to speak of. It's a very drastic change in the taper. Now, this is what I would consider to be a blocking stage when it comes to figuring out where you want those tapers to be. Now, I recommend you place them in areas where you have articulation, particularly around the neck, the elbows, the shoulders, the waist, and the knees and ankles. They're good places to sort of do your block out. Now, after you've done that block out, we can go ahead and smooth out those weights using the smooth weights function in the menu. So go ahead and just smooth it out as much as you want, and you start to see how effective those tapers start to look pretty early on. But that isn't to say that this is a quick process. The subsequent finessing of those line weights actually takes a lot longer than you may think, because you have to figure out, little nuances in the character that you really want to accentuate and de-accentuate across certain areas. So particularly around, I don't know, it's very specific when it comes to line art, especially if you have a much more minimalistic character. Line art means a lot more to a character with very simple silhouettes and detail than it does to a more complex character. The more complex character you have, the more forgiveness you have with the line art, as weird as it sounds. And that's because the line art in a more simplistic character such as this, or even a simpler character, carries a lot more information to the audience or to the viewer than if it's on basically everything, okay? A small deviation in the line weight or a bit of a wobble in certain areas but smoothness in other areas really start to make a character feel less complete or more broken or more off model, because the Toon lines carry a much more significant role in the character design as a whole. And even in this version of the line art that you're seeing me create right now, this is not the complete version of what I will ultimately have for my character either, all right? This is more of a demonstration. And I got to a point that I was actually quite happy to do an animation test with, but there's definitely areas where there can be improvement. So you can see that as I look through the model and see where I want finessing to happen, it's quite important to have a lot of control over the line weights and the weights of each vertice as they're being drawn. Because as you rotate the character as well, you'll notice that there may be some more significant tapering in areas that you don't want to happen or something like that. So there is a balancing act, so to speak, going on in this weight painting process as well. Or you can, use separate line art modifiers and separate thickness modifiers and combine them to basically draw different parts of the body as well. So that's an option too. I'm sticking with a single modifier right now for simplicity's sake, but you can do that. The other thing to be aware of is the fact that you can assign freestyle lines to specific areas or edge loops of your character to create structure that normally wouldn't be drawn by the line art modifier out of the box. You're basically forcing lines to be drawn. A pretty neat way to create line art without having to rely on texture mapping as well. However, you are still going to be limited by the density of your character's geometry with regards to how much finesse you can put on those specific lines. Now, you'll notice that my character in general is fairly high poly relative to other characters I've created in the past. Now, that is basically because I want to allow myself to have that finessing power in the mesh. But that does come with a few, drawbacks in the sense that I'll need to weight paint this character more precisely when I go to rig this character, for instance. Luckily, I already had some time to rig this character to a decent enough degree to animate it, but that is something to consider when you're going down this method of creating Toon lines, is that generally speaking, you might need to increase the poly count or density of your character. This is by no means a requirement, but it might be something to consider if you're not getting the right amount of finesse that you were hoping for out of your character design. The other thing to consider is how the lines are manipulated in motion. So sometimes, for better or worse, the lines may look worse when animated, or they might actually look better when animated because you're not fixating on specific areas of the body, to get the perfect line art. Sometimes you want to have that variation in the lines in order to make it feel a little bit more natural. Other times, the lines might feel unnatural when they're in movement, and you may want to remove them or simplify them or rely more on texturing to get the volume of the character across. So for me, a good example would probably be the crease underneath the butt. I found that it's still here in the render here. I find that trying to control that line doesn't quite match the actual volume of the character. So I think I'll remove that line, for instance. That's a good example of that. Other areas that are a bit trickier in this particular model are around the mask area. For some reason, it's bugging out. So I can't control that. So I may need to change the way that those lines are drawn for those specific areas of my mesh. Or I might need to create a separate modifier with just the object as part of that sort of drawing process. The other thing you can see here, as I'm weight painting the hair, that even with a subdivision modifier turned on with the hair, it's still quite difficult to finesse the density and the taper of the line in the hair. That's a good example of where a lower poly object is actually more difficult to get nice line work out of than a higher poly object. Think of it as an equivalent to trying to texture up or create a vertex color group for a sculpt. The more dense the sculpt, the more vertices you have to play with, and therefore the more nuance you can add to the color transitions between areas of the body. It's kind of the same thing with weight painting line weights. Of course, there is an alternative method to creating line art, and that is by using a solidify modifier with inverted normals. The nice thing about this method, however, is that you are no longer having to duplicate your mesh effectively to get the line art to work, and there's a lot less finessing required on a material level, and it's more performant overall than having a duplicate mesh being animated and rigged and rendered and all that sort of stuff. You also don't get this weird artifact that you do get with a solidify modifier, where if you are close enough to the model, you start to see a gap between the line art and the character because you're literally offsetting the mesh in order to get that solidified effect. So you don't get that problem with grease pencil objects, but it is a little trickier to finesse those lines somewhat. Now, with all that being said, once you've mastered the method of creating these two lines, you can create some absolutely awesome stylized retro cartoon character designs with that 1990s aesthetic that you expect from Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and all those great shows that you remember as a kid. It may take some time for you to go through every single vertice, smooth things out, and all that sort of stuff, but it will be worth it once you see that final render. So let's go ahead and see what my result was from this process. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that looks pretty freaking rad. Now, this could be made even more stylized with a certain style of animation that you want to add to it, give it that stepped animation look, play with the squash and stretch more, all that sort of cool stuff that you expect from really stylized animation, and just polish the shit out of it to get exactly what you want. And that's the goal here, is to create something truly unique. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this super useful and super fun to watch. There's plenty more to come, more characters to create, more animations to make, more tutorials to show you guys. So stick around, get subscribed, support the channel, get notified, and of course, if you want to give a few dollars my way, there's always Patreon as well, where you can download the source file right now for this particular animation and model. So thanks again. I'll catch us, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.